All right, good afternoon, men and women. Today we're going to learn about collecting terms. And what you see ahead of you here is 3m plus 2 plus 6m. And it's kind of like that game, some of these things don't belong here. Just like that, but some of these things can be grouped together or collected, and some of them have to be left out on their own. So if you were to look at 3m plus 2 plus 6m, obviously you see the m's are the same in both, and we can collect those m's together. We are not solving for an equation like we did in previous days. All we're doing in this little unit or this little today's activity is collecting the terms together. So here we go. When you go to collect terms, the number one thing you got to remember to do is take what is in front of the term. So if the term is 6m, you have to make sure you know it's going to be addition. Now, when I say that, people often ask me, well, what's in front of this 3? There's nothing there in front of it. So when there's nothing in front of a term, you have to assume it's a positive number. Because if it was a negative number, it would say -3. So if there is no negative sign or subtraction sign, it is just positive. So if we were going to group these two terms together, 3m plus 6m would be 9m, and then plus 2. And that's all you do to do this question here, is collect those terms. Alright, here's our next one, and we have x's and numbers in there. So if we're going to collect our terms, we need to collect everything that are the same. And remember, you always look to what's in front of it. So if I was going to do this first, I would collect the x's, and 5x minus 2x is simply 3x. Now, just to highlight what I'm doing next, I'm going to take this plus 6, and I'm going to add 12, and 6 plus 12 is 18. And that's the whole answer. That's all we have to do with these. I'll do one more, and then we'll show you where we go from there. All right, here's our last one. And you look for all the things. Now, there's two variables. There's t's and f's in this one, but it doesn't matter. You group what is similar. You group the like terms. So if I was looking at this question, I'd say, okay, let's go group all of the t's first. And sometimes it makes it easier if you circle and underline, just so you remember what you're doing. And also remember, take what is ever in front of that term, and you'll know what to do. So 2t plus 3t is simply 5t. If I'm looking at what I could do next, I'll say, okay, I'll do these f's next. Make sure to take the term in front, and what I have here is 7f minus 6f is 1f. Now, we don't actually have to write the number 1 in front of that f. We can, if it makes you feel better, but you could just leave it as f. And lastly, we have positive 2 plus 6 minus 5. 2 plus 6 is 8, minus 5 is 3. And we do write plus 3 when we're done, because it is not a -3, so you just write plus 3. And that is the whole question. Now, we're going to do a couple more, but I'm going to show you once you get to the end of it, it's going to give you a value, and you will substitute in. So let me change the page, and I'll be right back. So the next type of question that you're going to get is where it asks you to group your terms together. And here we'll group the t's, and 3t plus 5t. Remember to include that sign, is 5t, and 17 minus 14 is positive 3. Now that's your answer up to that point, but then at the end, after you bring it together, they'll give you something like t equals 4. Now if it tells you that t is equal to 4, what we're going to do is substitute this into the variable. So once we get to this step, you take 5, and we're going to substitute the 4 for the t. When you do that, we've talked about before, you always do it in brackets to show that you substituted. Then you add your 3. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 equals 23. And I'll give you one last one, and then you can check out your homework tonight. So it really doesn't matter what I use here. I'll do 3m plus 2z plus 20 minus m plus 4z. Let's go with that. So if I'm going to collect these terms right now, I'll bring all my m's together. So what I got is 3m minus m, so that gives me 2m. I'm going to bring my z's together now. I'm going to collect them. And I got 2 plus 4, and that's going to be 6 z. And the only thing that's left is this plus 20. So that would be the answer up to this step, but then you'd look over to the right and it says, okay, m is going to be equal to 2, and z is going to be equal to 3. Once you know that, you just substitute it into your equation that you have. So this would be 2 times 2 plus 6 times 3 plus 20. Doing your multiplication, that's 4, that's 18, that's 30. 22 plus 30 equals 52. And that's it for collecting like terms at the moment. We're going to do one more step with distributive property and collecting like terms. But for now, that's all there is.